But what I wanted to do is share with you one of my books. I hope you don't mind. I know it seems like sort of blatant selling, but there is a reason for it. This book here, Understanding Children and Teens, I hope you're seeing it actually the right way around. If you're not, then it is actually Understanding Children and Teens, because I'm a better therapist and a writer, I think, than a user of technology. The reason I want to share it with you is because it doesn't sell as well as I feel it should. I guess most writers would say that, wouldn't they? Um, the reason being possibly I don't know, is it the cover? Is it the name? But I want to tell you something about it because I get inquiries every day, actually. There are a lot of children in need, a lot of teens in need, a lot of very worried parents. And they want me to see their child, to help them with maybe behavior. It can be difficulty adjusting to, say, parents splitting up. It can be grief. It can be low self esteem, friendship issues, anxiety, problems going to school, and so on. Now, I wrote this book to sort of give myself less work. I know that doesn't make any sort of sense, does it? But I thought, what if I could put everything that I know from over 20 years of working with children and teens into one book? This is the course that I run. This is the NLP and EFT Kids Practitioner course, basically in a book at a fraction, a real fraction of the price of the training. Plus, you have it right there at your fingertips to turn to a chapter that you want. So how it starts, I'm not very good at sort of, flicking pages around, but how it starts is really to give you a little bit of basic sort of theory in terms of what is NLP, which I'll tell you now. NLP, neuro linguistic programming, is a horrible term, isn't it? It's a real turn-off. But basically, it's the neuro bit is all the things that we're thinking, the beliefs that we have about going to school, about what your friends think of you, what the teacher thinks of you, how good you are or not at a particular subject. So the neuro is all of that stuff going on here. And it carries on going here. And unless you release it or acknowledge it and do something with it, it becomes a story. It becomes your identity. I have no friends. I am friendless. I am useless. I am whatever. So that's the neuro bit. The linguistic bit is how you express yourself through the words that you use, which could be, they have patterns. If perhaps you are somebody who is looking to avoid stuff, or I hope I don't end up on my own today. I hope I don't get left out of something. I hope the teacher doesn't pick on me. If you're focusing on what you don't want, beware, you get more of it. The linguistic bit is the words that you use, that inner dialogue, if you like, what you say to yourself and what you say to others. Programming is the results you get. So NLP, in a nutshell, is how we think and what we say becomes what happens. So if we want to change what happens, we have to go back to what we think. Okay, so NLP, in this book, I talk about it quite a bit, as you'd expect, but I talk about it in terms of how you can use it to listen to what your child is saying and understand better how you can respond to them, because you're picking up the language pattern. As opposed to just the words, you're picking up the language pattern, understanding what they're saying, and therefore how you can help them best. So, and there's loads of examples. I'm a great one for lots of examples from the work I do, but also what I hear and everything else. So that, and then EFT, there's a lot about EFT in here. So EFT, emotional freedom technique, this is called tapping. You may well have heard of it. It's tapping into our body's energy. So those worries, that anxiety, that anger, it sits in our body and it whirls around, making up stories. And we send those stories to our head to try to make sense of it. But quite often they're not logical thoughts and feelings. I mean, they just aren't, are they? And so asking your child why, they're gonna think, "I don't know why. I don't know why. I just feel like that." We feel like that too, don't we? So there's that's covered. Also, a bit about mindfulness and about clean language. Clean language isn't about not swearing, although it'd be probably best if you didn't. Although we sometimes do fall into that trap, don't we? Clean language is about not making assumptions, not making an assumption by their behavior as to what they may be feeling or what they want. So, for example, when your child says something, or is very angry or very quite sort of sort of hitting out, throwing things and stuff like that, anger comes from a place of hurt. I mean, we know that, don't we? So instead of responding to the behavior, instead step back a bit and then find out what could have happened to have caused this. What happened just before? There's always going to be something. I mean, okay, so that does sound a bit like an assumption, but we don't start off the day, a child or teen, it doesn't start the day going, I'm going to be an absolute pain in the bum. They are hoping for the best, but then something happens and then that sets off a whole story that they've set up for themselves. Which we need to help them by actually sort of stepping back and working it back. And what happened before that? And what happened before that? And what other choices did you have? Look at the choices. So that's very much the beginning. Then the chapter 1 is the NLP beliefs of excellence. Now, what those are is, if you like, some basic not rules, guidance as to how we can really help ourselves a bit better. Like, behind every behavior is a positive intention. Now, looking for that makes us curious as opposed to annoyed. Like, what can that be about? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Yep. So repeating the same patterns, you're going to get the same result. I think some philosopher said that was the definition of madness or whatever. But yeah, we do still do it. And what are some of the other ones? They they aren't in my head at the moment, but they are in the book. But there are lots of them. Oh yeah, the person with the most flexibility has the most power. The more choices you have, the more options you have, the more power and control you have. If you've only got two options, if you think about it, on your piano keyboard or whatever, or your laptop, you have two keys, or like yes or no, or right or wrong, or you or me, or whatever. That's very limiting. Whereas actually, when you expand the story to look at, okay, so what else could I do? What are my other options? That's always helpful. What I tend to do is, if, say, I've got a 7-year-old child I'm working with, I'll go, I wonder if you can think of 7 other ways you could have dealt with that situation. So, try that one. Then chapter 2 is looking at compelling outcomes. So a compelling outcome is, what does your child want? What do they want? They might tell you all sorts of things they don't want. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do this. I don't want to eat that. So what do they want? Find out what they do want. And then we look at ways to anchor, which is to do some sort of action. Now, I can give you a really good example of that, actually. A client I had this morning told me that when she gets anxious, it feels like there's a twisting. She said it was a ringing. At first, I thought she meant a bell. I said, it wasn't. It was a WRINGING. So it was a ringing. It was like a twisting in her stomach. So we actually created an anchor where we untwisted and then brought in a healing color, which in her case was green. And immediately she knew she had a way of dealing with what with her worries, her anxiety. So that's anchoring. Circle of Excellence is a lovely technique you can use. All of these things you can use. That's why I think, why aren't people buying it? I'd love to know. Do you hate the cover? Do you hate do you hate the title? Do you hate the price? Can't remember how much it is. Maybe $11.99. Do you hate reading? You can actually get this as an audiobook. And it's a Kindle. Yes, so Circle of Excellence is a brilliant little exercise you can do with them. The next one, chapter 3, is about limiting beliefs. Now, limiting belief is a feeling that you can't do something, or that you have a fear of, but it's basically a thing like, I'm not good enough. Yeah. And most of us mums and maybe dads too, but I know for sure it's more mums that I work with, I have to say, we feel we're not good enough. We're not good enough parents. Or it could be nobody listens to me. Or it could be, I'll never get that job or whatever. So overcoming limiting beliefs, there are a number of ways that we can do that, and they're all explained. So if you're an existing coach, therapist, practitioner, whatever, you will be familiar with the techniques, but not perhaps how I use them with my clients. Obviously, the theory is exactly right. I am an NLP trainer, but how I introduce the techniques to children may differ slightly from how somebody would do it with an adult. If you're not and you're starting from scratch, you can also follow it. It's very much step by step. Okay. So and we look at, in chapter 3, also look at the difference between perception and facts, because kids will talk about their feelings as if it was a fact. The teacher doesn't like me. The dark is scary. I can't do my homework. There are no end of them. These are not facts. They're feelings in the moment. And a belief is as a feeling you have in the moment, but it can change. Suddenly, oh, I've just read that through again and now it makes sense. A belief is not a fact. And that is quite life-changing for a lot of my clients. Oh my goodness, I hadn't thought of it that way. No, and when something's a fact, it's sort of quite rigid, isn't it? But actually, when it becomes a belief, it's like, it can change. So then we go into EFT, how to use EFT, exactly how to do it, step by step. So you can use tapping with your child, works incredibly well. They can copy you doing it together, borrows the benefits, we say. Sort of two of you doing it is like 3 of you doing it, because you're both doing it together. And it gets to the point where all you have to do is just start tapping and your child just follows you, because they know that that's what they do. A lot of schools are doing it, actually. So if you're a teacher, or anybody, just get in touch. I'm more than happy. I offer half an hour free consultation or chat, shall we say, on my website. And there's enough time there in that half an hour to show you how to do it. I promise you. And I'm more than happy to do that. So we talk about EFT, how to do it, what the process is, when and where you do it, in terms of what you can use it on, which is basically any bad feeling you have. Then we go into the healing powers of play and art. I use that a lot. Lots of kids don't want to come and talk, and they certainly don't want to talk to an adult in a serious way. So I'm not that serious. And also I believe that although what I'm doing is therapy, it doesn't have to be deadly serious, because actually when you're relaxed and playful and being artistic and creating, making a pot, making a collage, working with crystals. I think that's the next chapter after that, actually. Or it might be the same chapter. Either way, it's in the book. it's so much easier, sitting alongside each other, doing some expressive art. It's easier for a child to tell me how they're feeling. I can see how they're feeling from the colors. I'm a Reiki master, so I do know about the chakras. I can balance the chakras. Reiki works fantastically well with kids. I haven't included Reiki in here because it's very, you can, so some like it, some don't. And also, it's very much a sort of a different part of what I do. It's very much more sort of, it is energy healing like tapping. We're using the body's energy, but we're talking about chakras, which I feel is slightly separate. But it does mean that I understand the colors and I understand what's going on, which is just as well. So yes, so we talk about playing art, doing Lego models, doing a Lego model of trust, perhaps then tapping on the bricks. Again, I'm talking through how to do it. This isn't me just waffling on. It is actually, this is how you do it. And then we do some NLP modeling, which is really how to use copying, not copying somebody's exam answers. I don't mean that. But if, say, somebody in your child's class is particularly good at something, how they can get that skill from them. And remembering, of course, that you are your child's model. So when you want your child to be calm, it really showing rather than telling them to be calm, just being calm yourself and just measured breathing, lowering the tone to quite a hypnotic, what my husband calls my boring tone, but it works very well in terms of actually just leading the way, drawing them in, and so that they listen, that they're listening in a hypnotic way, not to the words, but so much as the tone. And then we go on to things like VAK and the meta programs, which is different ways that you think and how you process. By understanding how your child processes their world, you will understand how to meet them in their world and draw them to what you want them to do and how you want them to be by speaking their language. Then there's a bit on mindfulness. You're probably familiar with mindfulness, but just a few exercises there. Then something about the drama triangle, which is very interesting, which is the triangle, 2 up, 1 down, 2 power positions, 1 no power position. When your child is in what we call in victim, when they're playing the victim, I'm useless, I don't have any friends, nobody likes me, I'm no good. When you come in from a power position of rescuer, telling them, no, no, of course you do, and so on and so forth. In a sense, you're holding them there because obviously you would say that, wouldn't you? But they're not changing how they feel. They're just feeling like, oh, that's nice. Mum having given me a cuddle. But, but when you step away from that rescuer position and use with the clean language, what makes you say that? Tell me more about, what is there about? Um, what's that like? Asking a question to get them to think a little bit more about what might have happened just before. And then there's something about sort of inner child work. So please have a look at this, Understanding Children and Teens. It's written with the intent to help you help your child. It's the book of the course. Obviously, it's wonderful. If you'd like to do the course with me, if you'd like to do the training, you can pay for it module by module or just buy certain modules. That's also, I want to make it easy and as affordable as I possibly can to share what I know with you, because it really is my passion to empower kids to help themselves. And by you knowing some of this, it will enable you to sort of to show them so that they can do it for themselves, especially with all of this, with tapping, with NLP, anchoring, all of these things. So, yes. And that's me done. I think I lost you for a moment, but I'm hoping that you're still there. My website is judybartkowiak.com. Totally unpronounceable, totally unspellable, but I will put the link somewhere. But it's Judy and then Bartkowiak, BARTKOWIAK.com. You can get your free chat there, half an hour of anything you want. You can also, there's lots of other blog posts. There's worksheets, free worksheets, and you can buy my books. And then there are some that are older books that obviously the content doesn't change. I mean, NLP is NLP, EFT is EFT. But because I've changed the cover, and some of them are just NLP, I've dropped the price so you can pick them up for quite a good price. So that's the end of my little recording. Okay.